Hey there everybody, it's Russ from Path Less Pedaled, and in this video I'm going to share with you guys what we think is the best configuration for the Brompton for fully loaded touring. So for those of you who aren't familiar, a couple years ago Laura and I toured exclusively on the Brompton, and we rode them starting here in the Pacific Northwest all the way up to Glacier National Park, and then 3 months abroad in New Zealand. So before we set off on our trip, we did a lot of research on the different ways we could configure the Brompton for loaded touring. It's designed primarily as a city bike, so this would be taking it a little bit outside its kind of design parameters. But we made it work, and this is what we did. So the first thing we decided to do was go with the M bars. The Bromptons come in a variety of bars from M, P, which is this kind of weird vertical butterfly bar, the H bars, which are like the M bars but for people over 6 feet tall, and to the flat bars. And out of all the handlebars, the M bars really made the most sense for us. Because of the shape of the M bars, it allows you to use a larger touring bag. And you can also modify them a little bit by adding ergon grips on the ends, so you have a little bit more than just one hand position. And in practice, the M bars worked out really, really well. They didn't quite have all the different hand positions that you would get from, say, a drop bar, but there were enough. I mean, just barely, but there were enough that we could put in fairly longish days in the saddles. The next big choice when configuring the Brompton is the gearing. You can get it either as a single speed, 3-speed, or a 6. So we went for the 6-speed hub, but in addition to that, we also opted for the -12 reduced gearing option. This gives you a slightly smaller chainring so you can get lower gears. On the high end, the gear inches were around the mid-90s, and in the low end, the gear inches were in the low 30s. So not quite as low as, say, like a Mountain Triple, but closer to what you would get from a road double with a 30-tooth cassette. I know that may sound confusing, but suffice to say, it was barely just enough to get over some really steep hills with a fully loaded touring kit. There are some more exotic options if you want super low gears. There's a Schlumpf mountain drive, which installs into the bottom bracket and lets you get low gear inches into the teens. We also experimented briefly using a double chainring setup, but in the end, looking at all the different kind of complexities we'd have to deal with on the road, we decided to ultimately go with the standard 6-speed gearing with a -12% reduction. So the next decision we had to make was whether we wanted a rack or not. And for us, that decision was fairly clear because we knew that we wanted to pack using a backpacker's backpack, and that would have to rest on the rear rack. So in that configuration, you have the M6R, M for the type of handlebar, 6 for the number of speeds, and the R, the option with the rack. And that's kind of what we feel is a good base model for loaded touring on the Brompton. We did a couple other semi-custom changes to the bike, like upgrading the pedals or the telescoping seat posts. And we also opted for the firm elastometer, which is key. If you want more specific details and reasons as to why we made the modifications we made on the Bromptons and our packing list, be sure to check out our unauthorized Brompton touring book. I think the only book of its nature that kind of breaks down touring on the Brompton. We wrote it a couple years ago, but the material is still solid. You know, Brompton hasn't changed too many options, and we'd still definitely recommend the same things that we do in the touring book. So if you want all your questions answered about how we toured on the Bromptons, check out our unauthorized Brompton touring book. So that's it for this video. If you're thinking about touring on the Brompton, check out the M6R. That's kind of the base model that we'd recommend for fully loaded touring. If you guys have any other specific questions, leave those in the comments below. If you like this video, found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.